Hello everyone, my name is Sean and welcome to the Courageour Frights, a channel where we talk about movies and games, especially those dealing with the sci-fi, horror, and action genres. And today we're going to be talking about a movie that just came out. I just got back from the theater. This is Gladiator II, which of course is Ridley Scott's sequel to his 2000 masterpiece Gladiator that had Russell Crowe in it, which I personally think is one of the best films of the last 25 years. So, how does this one stack up compared to the original? Um, it's still quite good. It has a lot of really great epic battle scenes and really cool fights in the Coliseum and that sort of thing. The acting is well delivered from Paul Mescal and um, Pedro Pascal, who's in everything these days, but he's quite good in this. Joseph Quinn and Fred Heckinger are over the top ridiculous in this film, and it was a bold choice to cast Denzel Washington as Denzel Washington. But yeah, for the most part, the acting is very well done in this film. The action is good, like I said. There's a lot of callbacks to the original film, so if you're a fan of Gladiator, they throw a lot of that in there, almost too much of that in there, given the context of the story. Um, Connie Nielsen returns as Lucilla, who is the sister of Commodus from the first film, and she's the main connecting tissue between the first Gladiator and this Gladiator. She's only the only reoccurring character. There's a couple senators. Derek Jacobi comes back as Gracchus, and I think maybe one other guy, but they're very minor characters. The main character in this story is Hanno, who's played by Paul Mescal, and he is a kind of soldier or farmer or whatever that's living in Numidia or Africa Nova, which is a province in northern Africa. And they get attacked by the Romans. The Roman navy assaults their fortress, and he gets knocked out in the battle. His wife is killed, and then he gets captured by the Roman army that was led by Pedro Pascal's character. And he gets taken into custody, ends up becoming a gladiator, working for Denzel Washington's character, and he works his way up through the arena, very similar to Maximus in the original Gladiator, and he ends up eventually fighting in the Colosseum. And uh, Rome at this point is ruled by two emperors, Gaeta and Caracalla, who are both essentially insane. Caracalla even more so insane. And Anthony Quinn, who people know probably from Stranger Things and Quiet Place Day One, is in this as Gaeta. He's very good in the role. Caracalla is almost too over the top, I think. He's just ridiculous. Allegedly, he's driven insane from like syphilis or something, but he's just outrageous. At one point, he becomes the emperor and grants his top consul to his pet monkey or something. Like it's some craziness. Speaking of craziness, as much as the film tries to portray Caracalla as insane, this movie speaks almost more to the madness of Ridley Scott as of yet, because there are some scenes in the Coliseum that are over the top to the point of ridiculousness. The very first arena match is between a bunch of unarmed men and hairless baboons, CGI baboons that look almost like something from a sci-fi original. There was a trailer for Mufasa that was out before the movie started, and the baboons looked worse than the Rafiki or whatever. It was bizarre. Not to say that that sort of thing didn't happen in these arenas. The original Gladiator had tigers, which they used real tigers and prop, like animatronic tigers. And it looked a million times better than this. This is just weird. And so after we get done with Ridley Scott's Ode to Shakma, it gets even more insane because at one point they have a naval battle in the Colosseum, which absolutely was a thing that happened. I mean, they did do like they flooded the Colosseum with water and would have like naval battles, or they would have bring in sea life, that sort of thing. Usually like hippos and seals and stuff. This one, they have a naval battle and somehow they have multiple sharks in the Colosseum. I don't know how they got the sharks there. Like, I feel like that would be a logistical nightmare in the 2nd century AD to bring in sharks into the arena. I'm not sure how you would even keep them alive and long enough to get them there, but it's just ridiculous. The fights, though, are quite good. Like I said, the naval battle at the beginning is pretty interesting. You don't get to see that too often in films, although I guess we did just see this in Indiana Jones fairly recently. But there usually is like land battles, but not so much naval stuff, at least not these days. And I do want to make a mention of saying, while I don't believe this movie is as good as Gladiator 1, not even close in my opinion, but it is still a really cool historical epic. Well, historical, I should put in quotes. I mean, it's about as historical as Braveheart, but they take some massive liberties with the history. And Gaeta and Caracalla are Roman emperors that I'm somewhat familiar with because I have its early rough stages, but I am working on a historical fiction fantasy story set during Severus's reign, which is their father. So I have come across these two quite a bit, and their depiction here is ridiculous and doesn't line up with any of the dates that are given. But of course, this is not a documentary, and even documentaries most of the time aren't accurate. So you got to give it, I guess, some leeway there. And Ridley Scott is notoriously anti-historian when it comes to this type of stuff. But like I wanted to say, it is a historical epic, a sword and sandal epic, which we don't get much of at all. I think the last great one was Gladiator, probably. I mean, there's been a couple Roman films since then, but it's few and far between. Like 300, I guess, but that's almost more of a it's a comic book, but that's almost more of a fantasy. Although this is borderline. I mean, there is a part where a guy's riding a rhinoceros around the ring that made me think of 300. In fact, one of the main characters in the Numidia sequence was in the 300 films, so I mean, there is some connection, almost as much connection to 300 as there is the Gladiator. Too much of this is over the top, in my opinion, but like I said, it is well acted. It's competently shot, which you would expect from Ridley Scott. I mean, the man's been doing this for 50 years, so I mean, he should know how to make a film by now, and he does. But there's too many things that detract from it to compare it to the original. Now, if we're not comparing it to the original Gladiator in any way, and we're just going to say, is this an entertaining film? Well, yes, it is. Are you not entertained? Maybe for some of the wrong reasons, but for the most part, I think if you want to see a action-packed historical piece, and you don't care about accuracy, then yeah, go check out Gladiator 2. I mean, it's got some really wild stuff in it. It's got some great, great action. The characters are well written for the most part. They try to tie things in a lot to the original, which may be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your point of view. And so, if that's your sort of thing, I would say go check it out. So that's going to be my review for Gladiator 2. This is a non-spoiler review, so I don't get into any nitty-gritty details or any of that kind of stuff. So let me know in the comments below what you thought of Gladiator 2 when you get a chance to see it. I'm not even sure if it's out yet in the States. Or wherever you're from. I'm currently living in Poland, so it came out today. And if you like the movie, if you don't like the movie, tell me about it in the comments below. If you like this video and you want to see more reviews like this in the future, consider giving us a like and subscribing for more content like that. And you too could feel the strength welling within. See ya.